When I got married, I believe it was within the first 6 months I got pregnant, and I've had 4 miscarriages, well, more than preterm labor. So I gave birth to a son in the UK, and I lost him. I gave birth to a daughter in Nigeria.
How old was he?
Immediately.
How did you start? How did you even bear the idea even way back in school?
Nigerians say you're a leader of tomorrow. But then I look at those people, they told us that when we were in there. We were 10,
20, 30, 40, and they're still there.
So yes, I had a lot of energy and I wanted to do things a certain way, and I was rude here and I was doing that. Eventually, I was fired.
Were you able to use any of your knowledge in promoting your business?
It's so complicated because I'm such a multifaceted person. I mean, we started in England. Good Hair started in England. Eventually had to open something in Nigeria.
All hair is processed. You cannot take hair from a donor and put it into your head.
Once you're a public figure, you become a target.
Look at all the companies we started. We have board members from Nigeria, but also from around the world, because we want to build world-class companies that outlive us.
Welcome to Omon's Couch, an entrepreneurship and career talk show where we help young entrepreneurs and professionals reach their full potential. My name is Omon Odike, your darling host, and I'll be bringing you amazing guests who have seen it all to educate and inspire you with their stories. Our guest today is a seasoned strategist and operation management specialist with over 20 years experience. She's the immediate past president of International Women's Society of Nigeria. She's none other than Ifeoma Monye. Let's welcome her to Omon's Couch. Wow, Ifeoma, you're finally here with me.
Yes, finally.
My Zimbabwe Gaia house or Gaia club member or sister, more like a sister.
Yes, definitely.
So how have you been?
I've been great.
I haven't seen you for almost a year. Can you imagine? So Omon's Couch has brought us back together.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
We've been talking, but no physical contact. You've been traveling the world a lot, I must say. So how's your trip been?
My trip has been okay. It's been good. Trying to ensure that we have impact and we make impact. So, yes.
I know you're very big on social impact, and it's a wonderful thing you're doing. Viewers, I'm here with Ifeoma Monye. She's a fantastic lady, a power brand, in fact, I don't know what to say. She's young but very, very intelligent and dynamic. You won't believe her accolades. Let me just read it for you. She's a strategist, she's a political economist, she's a management consultant, she's an operations management specialist, she's a program and project manager and a wealth manager, all embodied in one person. So you can imagine what kind of information you're going to be hearing today. She's full of wisdom, she's full of a lot of information, and please get your paper out there. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of learnings. I am going to be listening to her clearly and very much too, and I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot from her. So please, all of you, cue in and key into this discussion. We have Ifeoma Monye here with us. Thank you so much again for coming, and I'm sure you're going to give us a lot of information that we can use to build our businesses. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you, thank you. Hopefully I'll be able to help people better in their life to ensure that they have a more impactful and get what they want out of life.
Yes. So right now, you can see I read a lot of things that you do. I don't even know where to start from. So I would leave that to you. Give us an idea of how did you start your entrepreneurial journey? Where did you start from? What actually gave you the idea that I can do all these things and wear all these hats all at the same time?
Okay, thank you. Well, my career started 22 years ago when I moved back to Nigeria in 2002. I just graduated with economics and politics from the UK. And then while I was studying, I had wanted to work for the United Nations. I wanted to do public policy, business policies. How do policies affect individuals and businesses? So that was my idea. But then I believe it was in my third my final year, I started watching this political drama. I don't know if you remember it, West Wing.
Yes,
and it was a US
yes,
political
yes.
drama with Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
And it just caught me, and I loved the way, I mean, in the different episodes, how the policies would affect businesses. I remember there was an episode, and all of a sudden the markets, the agricultural markets went down. The farmers were against him.
Yes.
There was this whole political issue,
Uproar,
exactly, from him saying he didn't like green beans. And so I was intrigued by how just that statement
can
had
actually turn the economy.
exactly. And I loved how his team, the different advisors, will come up with different messages for him, how he had to go to the different states and talk to the farmers. So for me, at that point, I was like, okay, this is still within what I'm doing. So how do I now do it in terms of politics and businesses? And so I moved back to Nigeria thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be a political strategist. I'm going to help different
big dreams.
Exactly, governments with the policies. And then I came back to Nigeria, and then I realized, well, we don't really have an ideology, and it doesn't work the way, I had expected it to. And so I went into business admin and business strategy. And what
did you set up your own company?
No,
you're working for a company?
Yes, so I did my NYC. I worked for the Mushin local government. And even then, for me, everything I realized was I was always asking questions. Why are we doing the things we're doing the way we are doing it?
Them,
what's the idea behind it? What's the vision? What's the mission? What's the objective? So those were the questions that kept reoccurring for me that I'll be asking. And while I was working, I went and worked for my dad. I worked at Minaj. And then while there, I realized I wanted a bit more. So I went and did a program at Harvard Business School. I did the general management program.
Okay.
And at that point, that's when I realized there's management consulting.
Yes.
And I can help businesses with their why. Why are you in business?
Yeah.
Why do you exist? So I came back to Nigeria and said I was going into management consulting. And then I started working at Ashford & McGuire. And there I was a strategist. I was a strategy consultant.
In the company?
Yes. Yeah. And what I used to do was work for companies, help them set up. For new companies, I'll ask, why do you want to set up this business? What is your end goal? What's your vision?
Were the companies local companies or international?
Local companies. Okay. So we were working in Nigeria with Nigerian businesses. But one of the things I noticed is that a lot of companies, when they set up, they go online, they see something from another company
and just want to duplicate it
exactly.
and think it will work.
And then, so we come in and say, no, that's not the way it works, because you see someone is doing well in business and they're making money. Doesn't necessarily mean that you will. Yes. So you need to understand why you're going into business.
There's so many things what you put out there
exactly.
that make the difference.
Yeah, so we had to educate clients on understanding why, even if you have a vision. Another thing I realized was that companies were not set up to actually achieve their goals. So the way you're set up is also very important. You have to look at what are your capabilities, how are you. I'll give you an example. A lot of people say, okay, I want to be a fast food restaurant. If you're a fast food restaurant, you can't be set up as a restaurant a la carte. Because what happens in a fast food restaurant is the food is ready.
Yes, it's food is
ready. You just go in, you pick a settle from a menu and you get it. Exactly. But for a restaurant, it's when you order, they start preparing. So you need to ensure that your operations are aligned with your vision. So these are some of the things I do as a management consultant.
That's a simple example of how to illustrate that example. Okay. So after that, so what happened? So how did you now come up with the idea of setting up your company? I think you call it QC?
CUC.
Oh, CUC.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called CUC. Okay, we've been trying to understand how CUC. So what made you start that business? Okay. And I know you're a co-founder.
No, I'm a partner. I'm a partner.
Okay.
My husband founded it even before we met. So we both met as management consultants, and he said to me, "Oh, he's a management consultant." I'm like, "Okay, I'm a management consultant."
On that same project or something else?
Something else. It was completely. We met through mutual friend, and we just exchanged cards. I'm like, "Oh, what do you do?" He's like, "He's a management consultant," and so I actually joined CUC when I got married. I think about 2 years after I got married. Yeah, so I'd continued on as a management consultant. And I think it took him 2 years to convince me to work with him.
I can imagine.
Yes. At first, I didn't want to work with him again. I'd worked with my father. And so I felt that as a married, exactly,
then
a
husband again.
And as a married couple, I didn't want to, I felt that we would take business home and I didn't want issues.
Yes.
So it took him time to convince me, but actually it's like the best decision I made.
Ever made.
Yes, because we're very different. And we complement each other in terms of our strengths, our capabilities. He's market facing, I'm more behind the scene. He's visionary.
Okay, more operational, yes. Then he's more.
Yes.
But you know that thing you just said now, many people find it extremely difficult to work with their husband, not for any bad reason, really, but it just doesn't work out for some reason. And just as you mentioned, you said taking back the work home and maybe issues, problems, and maybe your marriage will be affected at the end of the day. That's the same fear a lot of people have. So they rather just don't even try it than try to do it. So it's good to hear that yours is working out well and there are no issues. Or
13 years later.
Yes. So well done with that. Well done.
Thank you.
So so continue. So how?
Yeah. So I joined CEC, and we were just purely management consulting. So we were doing turnaround strategies. We were helping new entrants into the market. We'll do the whole plan. And along the line, one of the things we noticed is that, because again, it's for us, it's not just to give our clients a plan and then leave them. It's to ensure that they're able to implement it, that they're able to create that vision they want, that whatever it is that made them start that business, they're able to see it through. And one of the things we noticed was that two things. A lot of our clients also needed to raise capital for the business. They were passionate about the idea, but they were not necessarily the best to run the business. And so we've transitioned to operations management, where we actually run the businesses on behalf of clients.
Oh, yes. So how does that work? You go in and set up shop with the client and run their business for them?
Yeah, so for those
or you get the expertise to actually run the business?
Both.
Okay.
So what I mean is, if the client has already started the business, if the business is already in operations, we go in, we see what exactly is required, and then from our own staff and our own from our people, we actually deploy people to go. What we do is for our clients, depending whether the company has started, we look at what is required, and then we actually bring in our own CUC staff to come run the company. Okay. For companies that already existing, the same thing. We look at it. And again, one of the things we don't do is we don't have a set the same for every company.
Obviously.
We look at what each company, exactly, what is the solution that is required. But we take in our own team and then we run it.
So, I mean, I run a business, so I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I know a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs are having problems with not just manning, but also operational, understanding and running their companies very efficiently. Are you telling me that you have a solution for that and you have done it for several companies and this is really thriving and this is working? Yeah. I may be talking to you very soon if that's the case. Yeah. Because you want to expand, you want to have more leverage in the market, then this will be a very good solution to actually deploy.
Yes, because again, like I mentioned, a lot of people are passionate or start the business doesn't necessarily mean they're meant to run it. And as you imagine, in our context, in our environment, there's so many different things you're dealing with. Yeah. You do a business plan, you think it's going to go to plan, but then something pops up one day, whether you're dealing with regulatory bodies, where you're dealing with economy, the effects and all of that. So these are things that we have done for many years. We understand the climate, we understand how to ensure that we mitigate the risk, and also human capital, dealing with the different people and
retention.
Exactly. So balancing all that and ensuring you meet your targets.
So would your solution actually work for a company that is already established, doing extremely well or doing well, relatively well, but they just want to have more stability, especially with regards to attrition or retention, and of course, the jackpot syndrome that's affecting most businesses now. So does your solution still work for that?
Yes. Okay. So we come in and see,
because your own people, do they not still go? Do they not still leave?
It's a global issue, but then it's now being able to ensure that you have the right strategy to mitigate
against that,
and whatever problem it is, come up with a solution. So what we always do is we go and we try and understand the business, how it started. So for example, let's take a 10-15 year company. How are they doing all this 10-15 years? What were the good things? Have they started coming down? When exactly did it happen? What are the different factors? So most times we actually like doctors. So you know, when you go to the hospital,
solution provider.
you say, most times you go say, oh doctor, I think I have malaria. The doctor doesn't say, okay, yes, it's malaria. They ask all the other questions
to find out if you really have
exactly,
malaria.
because that's what happens. Many times the business owners come to us and say, this is the issue. And then
by the time you investigate,
we realize that's not the issue. A lot of times people say money, I need to raise money. And we're like, no. Really, when you have a good solution, money comes looking for you. So there must be something else. So we go in, we try and understand how the business works and what the real issues are, and then we prefer solutions.
And I know CUC actually partners with government now. You have, I think, a home where you have over 200 beds for is it widows or for who do you
okay, so those are two different things.
Okay.
So we actually work for a state government. We run a hospital, a secondary hospital on behalf of a state government. So it has a 200 bed bed hospital. Yes. Culturally, when we started 2 years ago, actually 3 years now, when we started 3 years ago, everyone was like, have an elderly care home. People are taking their parents to elderly care home.
Because of our culture.
Exactly. But we realized that society is changing. Not only Japa syndrome. People are leaving the villages, going to the cities.
So
Lagos.
nobody to take care of the old.
Exactly.
Of the old anymore.
And we noticed that during COVID, a lot of the elderly were by themselves. And then people are sending money to some relative to take care of their parents, and they're not sure what's happening. And we realized that this is going to be a need, and with time, it's actually going to change.
So did you set it up in 2020? Or?
We set it up in 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
it was birthed from, it was one of the things that you felt was a solution to bridge the gap during COVID.
Yes, we realized there's a need for it, and with the way society is changing, the demand for it is just going to keep growing.
So how's that one going?
It's going well. I'll give you an example. Our very first resident was an elderly gentleman, and when his daughter brought him in, she started crying within 30 minutes, and she was like, we just thought, oh, maybe because she's leaving him. She's like, no, her dad hasn't spoken in months. And that when she brought him in, he started talking to the caregivers, and she was shocked that he was speaking. And it was just, that's what he needed. He needed people around. He was telling everyone about how he was a teacher 30 years ago and all that. So having a community of people that are your age and people that are actually focused on taking care of you makes a difference. They actually live longer.
I was going to say that it will definitely live longer, because loneliness kills the elderly more than anything else you can even imagine. Wow. You guys are doing a lot of beautiful social impacting work, and I must commend you and your husband for that. So now, going from that angle, what else does Ifeoma Monye do in terms of business now? If you're enjoying this episode already, I want you to take a moment to please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave your aha moments in the comment section below. We would love to engage with you. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Okay, so apart from that, we have our AG Care Foundation. So CUC is our operations management, where we run assets and companies on behalf of our clients. We also have Abundant Grace Care, and we have our foundation, and that's where we have the elderly care home as well. We also see that education is important, so we give out scholarships to individuals who need it and who have the academic excellence, but can't afford to go to school. So we do that as well.
So it's a thriving foundation. So how do you source for money to equip?
Fundraising.
Okay, you fundraise.
So yes, we even have charity golf tournaments to be able to raise funds
for that beautiful. As well.
Yes,
that's beautiful.
And then we have an annual drive during Christmas, where we do free medical outreach to
widows.
Yes, so we do to widows, and we give them items they require. Yes, but for the free medical outreach, it's more than widows. Anyone can come, check your BP, check all of that, make sure you're feeling okay, see a doctor. If you need glasses, you get the glasses. And then we also give out stuff to kids as well, books, clothes, and we do a full drive beforehand to get people to give us as much as they can, and then we give it out.
Beautiful. Yes. And you're also the immediate past president of International Women's Society for Nigeria.
Yes.
So how did you get that position at such a young age? I must stress that because I know what it is to get that position.
Yeah.
How did you get that position? And how was it? How was your tenure?
I thank God for my tenure. It was successful, and it was having everyone from the trustees to the past presidents to members all supporting me and ensuring that it wasn't about me, but it was about IWS and us making a difference. I actually joined IWS in 2002 when I moved back to Nigeria. My mother was a member, and so I used to see her every Tuesday go for meetings. And so I got more interested and I joined. And IWS is all about giving back, it's all about charity. It's women who have done well in their own personal lives wanting to give back. And so I became a part of it and I joined the executive, and I was really impressed with the work
they do.
Yes, they do. We have various projects. We actually even had an orphanage in Ijebu-Ode where we actually took in kids. And thank God during my tenure all the kids got adopted. We also have a school in Yaba. It's actually our oldest project, day nursery. So IWS started in 1957.
Yeah,
I was the 65th president. Yes,
65th president
of the
wow.
society. And the day nursery has been there.
I'm sure you brought in a lot of youth and a lot of innovations
to continue the good work that I've been doing, but ensure that we are still we're still able to have the impact many years later.
Definitely.
Yes. And so we have a day nursery in Yaba where it was actually started for the children of market women to ensure they have a solid foundation in education, and it's been running over the years. We also have a scholarship program where we give scholarships to young girls, and we have a Widows Trust Fund where we help recently widowed women who can't financially sustain themselves. We train them, we give them what they need to be able to start a business. So we've been doing that.
Wow, this is magnificent. I mean, in today's world with all the suffering and all the lack, I think you guys are doing a marvelous job, and so keep at it.
Thank you.
But I'm going to ask you, my viewers here are entrepreneurs. A lot of them want to run businesses. You're a management consultant, so you've just spoken about how you go to companies and you fix companies, how you partner with governments or partner with people to set up some socio-economical impact projects. So how would somebody who has just finished school, maybe finished their NYC, just wants to go into management consulting, what would you advise them? What are the things that they should look out for?
Okay, two things. First of all, I want to answer it in two different ways.
That's fine.
I think when you first come out, many times we're impressionable.
Yeah.
We see what other people are doing on social media, and then we
just
want to
wanna
get
do it.
ginger and start going and doing it. And I think the first thing I always say to people is you need to be true to yourself. So you need to know your skill set, you need to know what you're good at. And God has given everyone a purpose. So I feel it's important that we actually look inward and know what we are meant to be doing and not just try and follow a trend. Now, for management consulting, you need to be analytical. You need to be able to ask questions. You need to be able to look at a business and understand, even in life, so even strategy comes to our individual lives. What are you prioritizing? What is your own vision for your life? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? What kind of impact do you want?
Asking those questions then.
Yes, then these are the questions we need to ask and say, what is it that I want out of life? What do I want to be able to contribute? What's your contribution to life? What's your legacy? What do you see as your strengths? What do you see as your weaknesses? Many times we look at our strengths, we also need to know what our weaknesses are, because there's certain things we are called to and there's certain things we're not called to
do. Yes.
So we need to even know about that as well. And then in this day and age, people with the economy, everyone's like, oh, even if I have a job, I need to have something else. Again, I say go back to your skill set. How are you also ensuring that you're bringing value? How are you increasing your value
within the space where
you are in?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's also very important.
I think that's really critical, because a lot of people just look out and not look in and see how you can even build more within your own space, which is easier.
Yes.
That's interesting.
So yes, so for management consulting, if you want to go into management consulting, I'll be honest, The industry is also changing, especially with AI.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily going into management consulting, but it's having the skill set.
Yeah.
So you need to be analytical, you need to be able to plan, you need to be able to understand strategy.
Yeah.
And I'll also explain what strategy is. Many times we see it as a buzzword.
Yes.
I like
strategic plan.
exactly, and we don't really understand what it is.
In fact, I think I'm getting tired of the word, because at the end of the day, there's no implementation. The strategy dies on arrival.
So, because again, people don't really understand what it is and how to implement. So how I like to break down strategies, I always use this analogy. It depends if I'm going somewhere, let's say I'm traveling to Abuja. What is my strategy to get to Abuja?
Exactly.
There are different ways of getting to Abuja. I can go by road, I can go by air, I can even decide to walk however long it takes me. So then again, those are the different plans. Another thing is, okay, what resources do I have? Do I even have the capability to walk? Do I have enough money to buy a ticket? If I don't have enough money to buy a ticket, maybe I'll go by road. Do I need to be there by a particular time? Let's say I have an interview or a meeting. So these are all the different things you look at to now decide what strategy to go and say, okay, I'm actually going to go by air because I need to be there by 9 a.m. tomorrow, which immediately removes me walking there or going by road. So these are the things we need to look in and say, what is the vision? What am I trying to accomplish? What are the resources I have? What are the capabilities I have to be able to achieve this goal? Because sometimes we come with a strategy, but then we're not realistic because we don't have what it takes. Or we haven't even partnered with the right people.
It's not working.
Exactly. So these are all the things we need to look at.
Critical evaluation of where you are will take you to where you want to go to.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. Fantastic. So for you, have you ever, not have you ever, I can tell every entrepreneur has faced a lot of challenges. So what are the challenges that you see in your own sector? What have you been able to, what have you seen? I'm sure from the beginning, I'm sure you had initial setbacks. Then what are the current types that you see? Because I'm sure they'll be different and dynamic concerning time has passed.
Okay, so the different challenges. I'll give you one, like you mentioned, now with Jackpot syndrome and with the whole human capital. Now, thank God, with the advent of not only AI, just with the internet.
Remote working, yes.
Ensuring you have that flexibility for more than just even remote working. What are the things you can ensure you have the right processes in place, ensure that, so if somebody else has to come and replace the person who's left, they're able to follow. So having written down policies and processes so that it's easy for someone else to come in and take
Not like an SOPs.
Exactly, that's correct. As well as ensuring that flexibility. I think COVID has taught everyone that we need to be flexible.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, remote working, it doesn't have to be everybody coming. As I say to people that even when you have remote, it also reduces your operating cost.
Oh, definitely.
So it also depends on the type of business. Exactly. So it's figuring what works for you.
Yeah, but of course, looking at the business would actually inform the kind of structure you can put in
Exactly.
place.
We run healthcare facilities, so
people have to be there.
People to be there.
I was going to say the doctors will not be working remotely and say,
Exactly.
patient, do this and do that. No. They have to be there 24/7.
Yes. So it's just understanding and getting a balance. Yeah.
Okay, can you share some key lessons you learned about strategy execution and the operations management that have contributed to your success?
Yes. So strategy is important, and the execution. One of the things I always say is, a lot of the times, like we mentioned, people use buzzwords. I always say, make it simple.
Break it down.
Yes, let it be. Everybody be able to run with it and understand what it means.
Even from the lowest in the company to the highest member.
So for me, strategy has to be simple. Everyone needs to understand it, and your goals need to be objective. What I mean is, if someone says to me, "Oh, I want to buy a car," my idea of what a car, it might be a Mercedes, somebody else is thinking a Toyota, somebody else is thinking something else. So it's to ensure that everybody is aligned and understands as much as possible, break it. Don't just say car. What kind of car? What color car? Be specific so that it's smart, measurable goals, so that it's easy to know when you do achieve it and say, okay, this is my measurement to know that I'm in a good place. That's one of the things that's important. Another thing I would also say is ensuring that we're disciplined as well to be able to achieve those goals. Many times it's fun doing the visioning and coming up with a strategy, but then you have to ensure that you're disciplined to achieve that goal. That means maybe it's early mornings, late night. It means you need to forgo certain things, you know, and just stay the course. It's not going to happen overnight. Many times we think it's going to be overnight success. No, you have to put in the work. So that whole discipline, that whole tenacity to ensure that when the hard times come,
you're there. And you're ready.
And you're able to, if you have a good strategy, you're also supposed to be able to
weather the storm and
exactly and see
pass.
certain things come. Exactly, that should be built into your strategy.
And sometimes, most times, when you have all those difficult times, most times there are learning periods.
Exactly.
But it's only the smart ones that know that there's a learning
curve
in it. But the ones who just feel is a problem and just dwell on the problem will never see that there's actually a solution within that problem.
What I always ask is, what am I meant to learn from this? And what am I meant to do going forward? So it's, like you mentioned, it's definitely seeing it as a learning tool.
Yeah, like I just finished a project for a client, I personally, that's my team, and they said, oh, there were some hiccups in the problem. And the guy said, oh, no, don't worry, the client is happy. I said, no. How was it managed? He said, no, the client is happy, the client is nothing, no issue, the client is not complaining, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, you said there's a problem. So it means we have to fix that problem so it doesn't happen again. I said, oh, okay. I said, yes, because if you say the client is happy and to throw away that problem, we're going to, it's the same service we're going to offer. It's a technology-enabled service. So it was a technology issue, a tech issue. We have to solve that problem so that the next time we are deploying that solution, we don't face it. Because if this client is happy because you're able to manage the expectation and manage the process,
doesn't mean
the
next
one will not be that lean. And then he said, oh, okay, yes, I understand now.
Yeah.
So it's something that's really, really critical that in businesses, that once you have a problem, you may be able to manage a problem. However, you must ensure that that problem is fixed before the next time that you have to offer that solution again.
Yes. So what we do, and that's fantastic, you're right, is after every project, we have what we call a project debrief, and then we call it lessons learned document. Yes. What went well and why did it go well? What went wrong and why did it go wrong? And how do we ensure it doesn't happen? So that at every point...
So who manages that process within your company?
So part of operations, but every team member knows, and once a project is over, you do have that. And we have a lessons learned document. And once we actually ensure it's written down so that even when we have the next project or before another project starts, they go read the lessons learned document from the last project to say, okay, this is what went right, this is how it was done, and these are the things that went wrong, and we need to be able to ensure that it doesn't happen
again.
This. Yes.
Fantastic. Yes. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer if you really want to succeed and grow even bigger.
Exactly.
Well done. You've really given us some words of wisdom. I mean, management consulting is quite totally different. It's not. It sounds very vague. And that's the truth. It sounds very intangible because it is intangible. And people may say, oh, and if you notice, a lot of people who are going into entrepreneurship will go, I want to be into photography, I want to be a makeup artist, I want to be a designer. All well and good, is fantastic. They also want to do maybe real estate consulting, but I think what I'm trying to drive here is there's opportunity. And there are a lot of opportunities in management consulting. And I'm sure you can throw more light on the fact that you don't require money. You just need expertise and knowledge to be able to do this. Am I correct?
You're right.
Yes. So
yes. All right. So for management consulting, so many times we have different consultants. So management consulting is truly for businesses. Now, for you to be able to say you're a management consultant, like you mentioned, you need to be an expert. You need to be able to understand the issues that businesses go through. You need to be able to guide businesses to start, to set up. There's the marketing part, there's the HR, there's finance, there's operations. So there's so many different things, and you're trying to balance all to ensure that the business is thriving and the business is sustainable. So sustainability is also important, and you have to be able to add value to whatever business it is that you're consulting for.
Okay, in management consulting, just like every business, I want to believe that you have had major setbacks. What is peculiar to your industry?
In consulting, nothing, because when I'll say
no setback in
you said peculiar. I said what is peculiar.
Okay, peculiar. Okay.
And the reason I say so is, as management consultants, we consult for every single industry. The major thing, like you also rightly mentioned, is that for us, it's intangible, it's intellectual property.
Yes.
And so you're dealing with human capital, you're dealing with everything. You need to have the right set of people to be able to advise.
Challenge.
So that's our greatest challenge, is dealing with staff, human capital, ensuring that. And like you also mentioned, we also have a habit, I guess, in this side of the world, where somebody has worked for a few months, they now feel they're guru and they're going to go try and start. Like, okay, go sit. Yeah, so you also have that.
They feel they can fly.
Just by seeing a bit and getting it.
And I can do it myself or do it for other people.
So one of the things for us is human capital. And again, through the years, understanding also what is required. So like I say, like even with, a lot of people don't know what they want, or they think they want something. So even being able to read and understand, okay, this is where this, and understand this is where this person is at this point in time, and ensure that your business is also set up to be able to deal with that. The manpower, we mentioned Jack Power, how do you handle that? Where do you get the brain talent from?
So how do you get the talent? I mean, because it looks like, I mean, your area is definitely a very highly skilled level area. So how do you get them right now, even within the Nigerian? Join us on Omar's Couch, where inspiration meets action. If you are a remarkable entrepreneur or a career giant with a unique story to share, we want to hear from you. Become our guest on Omar's Couch and empower others with your journey, experiences, and valuable insights. Use the link provided in the description below to apply for yourself or nominate someone who deserves to be on this show. Let's inspire together. So they don't have to be already made or they have gotten their certifications or whatever it is. You can just train them up.
Yes,
and
we do that.
Fine.
The reason we do that and we don't go for people that already have the experience or exposures, they're set in their ways, they're used to doing things in a certain way.
And also the cost too.
For us, it's a matter of, we want you to think outside the box. We want you to be solution providers.
Yes.
So we take people through a training. We used to have what we call the analyst training program, which was a 6-month certified program. But we've changed it to, now that we're even in operations, we've changed it to a certified business operations analyst program, where you do it for 2 years. You get all the skill sets. You learn how to analyze data. You learn how to get data. You learn all the different frameworks. You understand how to do business plans. You understand how to do financial planning. And people will stay for the full 2 years. Yes, yes. And then apart from doing all that, because it's one thing, like we mentioned, to be able to create a business plan is another thing to be able to implement it. So we teach them all the skill sets, and then we give them practical exposure. Go into the businesses and go run those business plans and say, okay, in reality, this can happen and all that. So that's why it's a 2-year program. Exactly. Yeah, so you're a certified business operator.
You learn by experiencing it.
Exactly.
Experiential learning.
Yes. And so it's not just theory. Yeah. You've been there. You've dealt with the different issues. Yes. So
and of course, I'm sure they also get to tweak their processes as they go
and
along.
See exactly
based on what they have learned. That's fantastic. That's interesting to know. So outside from the manpower challenges, have you had any personal challenge that has actually affected the way you have seen life or run your business or done anything? For sure. So when I got married, I believe it was within the first 6 months I got pregnant, and I've had 4 miscarriages, well, more than preterm labor. So I gave birth to a son in the UK, and I lost him. I gave birth to a daughter in Nigeria. How old was he? Immediately. So wow, so
I went
sorry.
Thank you. I went into preterm labor, and I had him stillborn.
Wow.
And having to
carrying the baby for 9 months.
So after, I lost him. I went into preterm, so I wasn't yet full term. I was 6.5 months, and we went into labor and got to the hospital and had to go through that whole thing. They told me, oh, when I went into labor, your baby might be brain dead, you might have XYZ. They went through the whole thing.
Fully formed,
And then I had him, and then he was stillborn. And then my experience in the hospital, and I didn't want to see him, so they asked me if I wanted to see him. I said no. They took photos of him. They did his handprints. They did his footprints. Gave me the camera. Whenever I was ready, I could
look at them,
print the photos. And then they were going to cremate him, but I said no. So I had to go look for, get a funeral house, get a coffin, look for a burial gown for babies, and I had to do all that in the UK.
So sorry. That must have been heart-wrenching.
It was.
For you.
A year later, after I had lost my son, I got pregnant again and then went into preterm labor. So I was supposed to go to the US about 4 days before I went into labor. And I'd seen the doctor the day before. He had given me my notes. He had said I was fine. In the morning, I woke up and I knew I was going into labor. I went to the hospital. Now, bearing in mind, after my experience in the UK, how they had done and they were nice. And then I go to the hospital here in Nigeria and I tell the nurse.
Oh, this was in Nigeria?
Yes, the second time.
God.
And I tell the nurse I'm in labor. And she's like, God forbid, don't say that. I'm like, I know the signs. It's happened to me before.
Oh God, sorry, it was a bad experience, but Nigeria would not fail me.
I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
And
Are
so,
you serious?
Yes, and so I had to start screaming for them to take me seriously. I now was not finally put in the labor room. Long story short, I give birth by myself. I'm the only one in the room. I'm screaming for someone to help me. 5 minutes later, a nurse runs in, and this is true story. This happened to me. She comes in with Eba in her hand with no shoes. You don't deliver. My mom, my husband, my mother-in-law were downstairs. I was by myself.
God.
Till today, I have no idea what they did with that baby because they put her in a bucket. I have no idea what they did to the baby.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
For me, not only was it a traumatic experience losing my daughter, but then the whole
drastic experience for giving birth in Nigeria was...
It was so for me and for my husband.
I haven't heard this
at
before.
That point. Also, I had another story because I had my first pregnancy actually was ended in a blighted ovum. So this was before I had my preterm labor for my son. I found out the hard way again in Nigeria. I'd gone for a checkup, and then the doctor had said to me that he couldn't hear the baby's heartbeat, so I should come back in 2 weeks.
This is in Nigeria
again, and this was the first time even before I had my son.
Before the first, yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, I go with my husband, and we do a test. Next thing, he sits down and he says to me,
"Wow,
well, you need to book an appointment with my secretary." I'm like, "For what?" They're like, "Well, you need to do an evacuation." I'm like, "What does that mean? What are you on about?" Like, "Go meet my secretary." So I started saying,
"A doctor told you to meet your secretary?"
Yes, go and then book for an evacuation. So I was looking
without
at him,
any feelings, without any explanation.
Go meet my secretary. So I started to shout at him, "I don't understand what you mean. What do you mean evacuation?" So I started screaming, "You want me to have an abortion? What do you mean?" And he says, "Yes, you have a blighted ovum." I'm like, "What's that?" He said, "Go meet my secretary." So at that point I was hysterical. So my husband said to me, "Don't worry, let's go." And as we get to the car, I didn't even bother seeing his secretary or whoever. We Googled it, and it meant that the baby didn't have a heartbeat. So it wasn't viable, so I needed to take the baby out. Of course, I didn't go back there. I had that.
Wow.
So after these 3 traumatic different experiences.
Wow. The first one in Nigeria, horrible. The second one, horrible but well managed. And the third one, the extreme madness in Nigeria. You had another one, 4th miscarriage.
Yes, well, that was between my 2 daughters. Luckily, I thank God that I had 2 wonderful daughters, and I had them in the US. Now, the reason I'm giving you all the story was like, how do we use this? Well, what are we doing with this?
Exactly.
So my husband and I, and again, from personal experiences from other people, we said we can't keep complaining about Nigeria. We can't keep talking about the problems, solution providers. So we said, my husband and we now decided that CUC will go and meet. We went to a government hospital, children's hospital in Lagos Marina, and we said, we'll do this pro bono. Let's even show you how your setup should be. We were not asking for money, but even your process. How do you have your A&E on the second floor? How do you bring in accident patients and take them to the second floor? It has to be on the ground floor.
Emergency.
So these are certain things that to us are no-brainers. And we're like, as consultants, we can do this part. And then you have 2 babies in an incubator. The hospital we went and helped, we had dead babies behind the staircase. So we just said, look, let's show you how to align and all that. And honestly, that's how we started in healthcare. That's how we started. So after we did
from your pain,
we were like, we can't keep quiet. We can't keep saying, let's be solution providers. So when we did that pro bono for the hospital for 2 years, another hospital called us in and said, oh, you've been helping them, come help us. So we ran the operations for for a few months. Then the state government came and said, oh, we saw that, we've heard you're doing this for this hospital. Come run our hospital. And that's how we started running the hospital, and that's how we kept getting calls.
What the state government, which of them is it? Is it
Edo State.
Oh, Edo State, okay.
Yes. So we run the Edo State Specialist Hospital.
Right now?
Yes.
Oh. Wow.
Yes.
I'm
And then
so,
from that,
so sorry, but I know that everything is now joy for you and your two beautiful daughters. I can't imagine how much joy they have brought into your life and your family. Well done. God is an awesome God.
He definitely
is.
He definitely
So continue, my dear. Your
Thank
story
you.
is really, 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 really touching. I'm just like, wow. We all, I think women, we have gone through a lot. One of these days I will also tell my story, but this is not the time. It's your story. It's really, it resonates with me personally, and I don't know if we've ever had that discussion.
We did.
So I'm naturally more emotional than even before. But I thank God that God gave you the strength to move past all that, and you came out stronger, and you came out even looking to make sure that this does not happen to people, other women who are going through the same pregnancies and all that, as in your own little way, because obviously Nigeria is so big, but at least you're doing something. And if everybody contributes and does their own part, I'm sure we would have
Nigeria will be better.
More good stuff coming out of this place. So well done for what you're doing. Well done for the social impact. And of course, it's a business. I think that's what people should also know. It's impactful, but it's also a business. Am I correct? Yeah. So you also earn, at least from all the advisory, all the work you do, but you also give a lot back to the economy. And I noticed something about social impact, especially businesses that set up for social impact. A lot of times they make a lot more money than people could even imagine, because something about giving, the principle of giving, you're always receiving. So you can't, God, even the ultimate reason that God exists, when you bless people, God blesses you back in return.
100%.
So it's actually a very thriving business. It's also a thriving area. You can do jobs of impact and also find ways to also make an income at the end of the day. So I'm going to be asking you one of our last questions. We've had a wonderful time having you here. We've learned a lot from you, and we've seen a woman of grit, resilience, hard work, a lot of intelligence. And you have a lot of leadership skill. And knowing you personally, I know there's something, you also have this beautiful, amiable, yes, very amiable personality, whereby you draw people to yourself. And you have this modern hen attitude, which if you ask her age, you'll be like, oh my God, she's quite young, but she actually models almost everybody that's even bigger and older than her. And I thought I was the only one, but I hear more people are also part of that trap with you too. So, my dear, keep doing the good work and keep impacting. So my last question to you will be, with all these things that you do, in terms of operational management, in terms of management consulting, in terms of the social impact part, and of course I know you do a lot of motivational speaking, a lot of conferences, and you get to speak about different parts of you. You have different expressions of Ifeoma Monye. And what would you advise people if you're going to go into any type of business, regardless of whatever it is? What would you advise them to do, using yourself as an experience and also using your pain as an experience? What would you advise people? Because people also have their own issues. It may not be childbirth. It may be something else that's also really, really bad too. So what would you tell them to do?
I always say, like I mentioned before, I think people should be true to themselves. It starts with looking inwards rather than outwards. Many times we spend a lot of time on how we look, how people perceive us, but we need to do the inner work. We need to truly know ourselves. And for me personally, for me to know myself, I need to know my God. I need to know who my creator and why I was created. So look at, what are my gifts? What are your talents? What is it you're bringing to the table? Yeah. We all have a purpose. And for me, I realized that I went through pain for a purpose. Yes. So it's now saying, okay, based on what my passion is and my different life experiences, how can I use that to impact other people? what is it that I have that other people don't necessarily have that I'm bringing to the table?
Yes.
So it's to be able to say, okay, what do I have? How can I ensure that I'm enhancing it? How do I ensure that I'm growing in the expertise of even myself to know what it is I'm bringing of value? Everyone talks about coming to the table. Everybody wants to be ensured that they're seen. But we have to do that. We have to be able to
build.
Say, we have to work on
Capacity.
ourselves. We need to be able to ensure that we're doing that work to say, okay, these are my skill sets. I'm a management consultant, but I have to ensure that I have that skill set and I'm staying relevant. So as I'm sitting here today, I'm already planning and ensuring that I'm relevant in 10, 15 years. What are the skill sets I still need? How do I relate with people? How do I make people feel? Many times we look at what we need to receive from others. I look at it the other way. What am I giving to others? What do people need? So I think people should start with themselves first and see. I ask the same questions. What are you here for? What do you want your legacy to be? What are you offering to other people? And when you work on yourself and add value, you will see everything you want comes back to you.
Well done. Thank you so much for this words of impact. We've heard it all, and I'm sure my viewers have gotten a lot of words of impact, and you can see now that management consulting is a thriving business, and it's thriving on two levels. It can give you value from what the impact, social impact that you give to people, as well as what you receive in terms of income. So now, I think one of the good things I can pick from all this discussion is, one, if you want to start something, any business at all, you must understand that business. You must have the skill, you must have the capacity, and you must, if you don't have it, then build it. Because you don't expect to have everything. Just continue to build, and it's also always a continuous process. It's always a continuous learning, because things move, things change, and you have to be innovative. You have to always come out with different solutions. Then another thing you have to also look at, that even if you have those trials and tribulations, you must be able to come out of them. I mean, I know it's not easy for everybody. It all depends on what the things are, especially when it comes to debt issues. But at some point, you will definitely come out of it. And I believe so, because of the Almighty God. Especially when you're a faith-led person, then you take your pain and turn it into joy. And you can see that you can use that to provide solutions for a particular pain or issue that you have. Because whatever pain you have gone through, trust me, a lot of other people have also gone through that and are still going through it. So turn it around and make it a thriving or a viable solution or a business that you want to also go into. Then of course, ultimately, in everything, you must have God in the center of your work and your business, because with Him, all things are possible. You can start small, you can start big, you can start whatever place you want to start, but with God, you are led, and He will give you the purpose, and He will drive you to your end result. Okay, viewers, we're going to the fun segment of this talk show, and I'm going to be asking Ifeoma Monye, our guest who has been here and giving us a lot of insight, a trivia question, and I'm hoping that with her intelligence, she would actually be able to answer our question. So the question goes like this: what are male honeybees called? What are male honeybees called? Male honeybees called. Just one name. What are they called? You don't have to get it. You just have to try. And today, after you've gotten it, you would never forget it. Trust me.
Male honeybees.
Male honeybees.
Have no idea.
Okay. The answer is called drones.
Oh.
I never knew that myself too. I just got to learn it during putting this together.
Wow, drones.
They're actually called drones.
Like you said, I won't be
I'm sure you will not forget it next time. So thank you so much, Ifeoma, for coming, and we enjoyed every aspect of your talk, and thank you.
Thank you
and
for
words of
having me.
impact.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Oma's Couch. I'm sure you're eager for another inspiring story. So click here to watch another episode, or click here to subscribe. I will see you in the next video.